Hey buddies, welcome to AmassGames. My name is Simon. Today we're doing a setup plan review for the game Picture Perfect by Arcane Wonders and Corax Games. Now, we're aiming to be the best photographer. The best photographer is the person who can get the best out of their subjects. Somebody who can get their people best arranged according to their wishes. You're going to have a photography guide. You're going to have various locations where your guests are going to be sat on, whether they be outside or inside. It makes no difference. You take one of these per player. It's a 2 to 4 player game. The person who scores the best, ultimately the most points determining actually how well they suit their guests, is going to be the winner. It's about 45 minutes. It might take an hour or a bit longer if you're going to play it maybe with the auction. And you're going to be setting this up initially. So as you see, I'm playing it slightly different in terms of the camera angle. Let's go indoors for the time being. I have played every single different kind of player board that comes with it. They're all the same in terms of actually how you play the game, but it depends if you want to play inside or outside. For now, we'll play inside. But you could be playing out in the countryside, which looks like this. So ask people what they fancy being. And again, you can choose the board. You could have a stateroom like this and choose to go with a gravel kind of block outdoor location if you want to. More like for this one, that's what it looks. Hence the shadow, like I said, because of this particular angle, you're going to get shadows like this. In fact, I'm using a different lamp today, causing quite great shadows. Game rulebook, should you need it as well. And now you're going to set up the arrow pointing towards you. So let's set up like this. You can do it right around the edge, but it's a bit easier. It's a bit too fiddly, to be honest, if you leave it like this. But when you do take a photo, that is how you should do it. So, as you can still see from that shadow, we do have a box over here. And what you're going to have in here are 2 different types of tables. They are identical how you play the game, but you're either going to have them play, well, I guess you could say an indoor table with a napkin, or an outdoor table. Is up to you. It makes no difference. You can mix and match. But you can grab one of those. As you can see, you do use them to keep your components in, and they're going to go on like this, and everything else is going to go back in the box. Now, if you're playing it as a 2, or if you're playing it 3 and 4, you do set up the game slightly differently. So it's basically depending on your player count. And you're also going to have these envelopes. Now, it does say to speed up gameplay, you can actually sort of get everybody to put in your different favour cards. So over here, we're going to choose your partner, going to get your various standees, so chuck those out too. And I'm going to use generic terminology, I find it a bit easier, but basically preference cards. Items which basically are going to have an influence on what they want to be doing. So you can assemble these people behind your shelf, and I'm deliberately using this angle just so you can see, and hence why we're getting some shadows. So various people, and they go on these standees. Again, please do be careful. They can be knocked, so you might not want to place them in the very centre of actually who they are, where they are. So there are 14 different characters. Now, there are 3 expansions, including the Sherlock expansion, the most recent one. One of the expansions actually goes up to a player count of 5 to 6. And when you remove that insert, that all will fit in there too. So you also have those table decorations. They have no use in the base game other than for the auction variant of the game, if you wish to play with that as well. But here we are. Here are some tokens. Again, you can flip them over, have eggs. You can have various different things in here. We have a palm tree. Some of the best things about this game is the fact you have a talking palm tree. Yes, you have a child, but you've also got a talking palm tree and a talking dog as well. So let's talk about these cards. What do these guests want? Well, let me show you an example. So this person wants to be sat next to this lady. I said it lady because everyone does actually have a gender aside from the plant and the dog. So in this case, this person, when you open up their envelope, it's going to say where they want to be sat next to. You don't know exactly where, but it's going to be something like that. Sometimes they have a preference around the back of the table. Sometimes these cards do clash, so you can't actually meet all of the objectives. But for now, let's just chuck out 3 into one of these envelopes. Now, depending on how many people are playing, you're going to get a different amount, and a different amount's going to go into the centre. So if you're playing it as a 2, you're going to get 5 cards each. If you're playing it as a 3 or 4, you're going to get 4 cards each, or depending on the number of players, and then the rest are going to go into the centre. So here we go. We're going to have one person there. Again, you're going to have your 5 cards. It's all going to be shuffled face down, but imagine I've got these 5 cards. You're then going to look through those cards and see actually what is in there. You also have some player cubes here. They're used for scoring, which I'll come back onto. And you can chuck out your table decorations on here. Again, it makes no difference on that base game. Hopefully, actually, the shadow looks quite good. And also the mic, you are going to be picking up from one side. So apologies if you are listening to this maybe through a headset. So you're going to open up your envelope, and you can only look at one at a time. See what this person wants. They want to be next to the maid, in this case. So now you can kind of grab your figure, place it somewhere, and then grab the maid and put them next to them. Again, anything next to, behind, anything that's basically adjacent. Adjacency in this case is orthogonal, so it cannot be something that's diagonal. So they need to be there, as you can see by this example. They also want to make sure they're covering the face of the dog. Now it has to be this person. So what they want to do is grab the dog and place it behind them so they cannot be seeing the face of the dog. Now, the way you determine that is at the end of the game, once you've played 6 rounds, you'll take a photo, so make sure you've got nothing outside of the box, this lid outside of it, not sort of that shield, and also make sure that everybody's face is in it. Of course, making sure anything that should be obscured is obscured. And finally, they want next to this person here, which happens to be a gent. Doesn't look too genty necessarily compared to having some female qualities there. But there we go, that's their requirement. Relatively easy, but now we know that person is. Having said that, we could grab 3 more cards. Again, I don't know what these are. And let's say it's for this person. And then these have to go back into the envelope before you look at the next one. They want to be on the left-hand side. They want no one to see their face. So suddenly, they need to be back 1 space. And they don't want to be next to another woman. So in this case, you do know, as I said, they do tell you if they're male or female. You need to make sure that they're not there. So maybe here or here, for example. And then you have to then put it back in your envelope. Now, you're going to move on to your 3rd, 4th and 5th one in a 2-player game as an example, and eventually you're going to be conflicting because you might find this chap here is fine where he is, but if he's in the corner, that also will help you. Now at the end of the game, you're going to be scoring up. If you get 1 card right, this is actually where the actual player aid is very handy on the shield. So the player aid here is telling us if you get none of the 3 requirements right, you lose 3 points. If you get 1 right, you get 1 point. 2 is 3, 3 is 6. If you don't place out the figure, you don't gain or lose any points. And finally, if you want to play the auction game, you'll also get 1 point for extra, any 2 left over. So initially I recommend playing without the auction. And what you'll be doing is going through and taking those 6 cards. So you need to separate out any other cards. And whoever last took a selfie is going to be going first. So you're going to be taking this card initially and passing these around each round. And also going to be choosing, like I said, if you're playing with the auction, to chuck those out if you are playing it for your first time. And let me show you what could be happening at the end of the round. So you can look through your portfolios. So initially, 1 at a time, look through the 3 cards and then place them back in the envelope. Then do look at the next one. You have to memorize, so remember where everything is. But that's just to make sure you don't mess up and put the wrong thing in the wrong envelope. So, going through your 6 cards, let's go through that end of that round. So everyone's happy with where they placed everyone. Now, end of the round, dance. So both players are going to keep 1 envelope and place the rest in the middle of the table, shuffle all those envelopes in the middle, and then randomly deal back the same number of envelopes that were put in the middle. So this time, you might actually end up with different ones, and now we can place out more people. That's how the game goes. I've never seen any game whereby you actually get to see everything, so it's quite good. You're not necessarily going to place everyone out, and there might be a bit of a push your luck. You chuck out the plant and you could lose 3 points, but you might gain 1 point, it's up to you. Also, as you chuck stuff into the centre, or as other cards come out, you might find out that suddenly you can't recall if this person is going to get you 6 points or not. Maybe they're going to get you 1 point, and actually if they're over on the right hand side because somebody else needs them there and there needs to be an extra man and whatever else it is, you could be getting 6. But can you remember everything? So that's something to be aware of. Lastly, we have VIP elements. And that means there are certain things that these certain guests want. In this instance, what you're going to do is at some point, secretly, behind your player shield, in those 6 rounds, you're going to be going through and deciding, right, I'm going to chuck this into one of these envelopes. Again, like I said, secretly. And when you do it, you're going to be scoring it. Everybody's going to score, say, for this person. And what's going to happen is you're going to be doubling anything that you get. That means, of course, you could be losing 6 points, which has happened to me, and it's something to be aware of. As for the scoring, I found it has been very close. I have won and lost the game by only 4 points. In fact, it came down to that final card. It's one of the best parts of the game, actually. It's when you take that picture, you're comparing them side by side, as you might have seen over on Instagram, so please go through to the description on YouTube. Click through there, there's over 2,700 posts presently, and you can see some side-by-side pictures. You can see some of our characters are next to each other. Sometimes they've been misinterpreted or differently interpreted, and ultimately you're going to go through and see one by one how you're getting on. Now, scoring wise, you're going to go and use those brown cubes that I mentioned, and you're going to be going up and down this track depending on who is being read out. Like I said, it can be very neck and neck and come down to pretty much that final card. And yeah, that's the game. Like I said, very fun playing with a plant, seeing what requirements the plant might want. You may well see that a person like the boy is actually in the envelope with the boy. In that case, they simply need to be in the picture. That's all it has to be. Aside from that, there is a couple of things in the rules whereby there is an item that's not there, including the standee that isn't there, and everything actually has to be facing the right way. And in the item, for some reason, it's not in here. You can also get the acrylic pack as well to improve the look. So let me show you what item isn't actually in here. It's this item here. For some reason, that's nowhere to be found. This 3-tier sort of cake. But apart from that, yeah, it's a very interesting, very different game. It's a very fun game, and it's not for everybody in the sense that you might find that, yeah, there's a slight bit of memory to it. Be very careful you don't knock your people over. Get used to doing that, though, actually correctly assembling them. But no, it's a very different game. It's very Flux-like, the way that you've got these requirements and you have to try and meet them, and you might have this one, and yes, around the edge, and something else might actually say they need to be closer in. So obviously, 3 points, getting 2 cards right is better than just getting 1 point. So it's quite self-explanatory in most of it. And the turns aren't very long at all. Yes, sometimes you might find that you've only got one new person, so some rounds can be very quick. It can be a bit wonky like that though, depending on what you've picked out. And regarding the auction, you're bidding with your decorations, of which you can get more of, to maybe look at a new card. It's up to you. But remember, you're giving up points at the same time. Like I said, wonderful to look at, excellent table presence. Very different game is what I'm trying to also get across here. So this is where you might find this of interest, and I would be very keen to do a playthrough of this at some point. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell, and check out my various playlists. This is me has Setup Play and Review playlist, the AmassGames playlist. It might well even actually be an Arcane Wonders playlist when I get enough videos. Aside from that, if you have any other questions, please let me know. YouTube is best. And like I said, there are occasionally competitions via Linktree, so also check that out in the competition section of the description in YouTube. Like I said, very interesting, great pieces, great components, highly enjoyable, lots of fun. Yeah, if ever you had any questions, please let me know. But no, like I said, very attractive. It's very interesting, very conceptual. And like I said, just follow what's on the cards. Make sure you place things out, be where you're playing it. Very, very clever idea. And in my rating, it is above average. My rating is around kind of a 7 out of 10. It's actually improving slightly, and that is actually what the current rating is on for everyone else is giving it to. So very interesting, like I said, slight bit of memory that you have to be aware of, and yeah, maybe some of the better memory might do better at it, but so far I haven't noticed it to be a factor. So thanks for watching. For now, back to the table.